The voice of sharing, Durian ASEAN.
Hello, this is Arlene and you're listening to Durian ASEAN. Today we are going to speak to Renee Karunungan, also going by the name of Ayeen. She is a 26-year-old climate justice campaigner and part of the Climate Tracker. She is also a communication director of Dakila in the Philippines, a group of artists, students and individuals committed to working together to creatively spark social consciousness, formation towards social change. On the first segment of today's discussion regarding sustainability and climate change awareness in ASEAN community, we are going to discuss on the impact of today's global trends towards fossil fuel, as well as the importance of climate change awareness.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi Renee Karunungan, how are you?
Hello, hi Arlene, I'm good, thank you.
So you're all the way from the Philippines. As a climate justice campaigner and part of the Climate Tracker, what is the current situation right now when it comes to the awareness on sustainability among the ASEAN communities?
Yeah, I think in the ASEAN community, sustainability awareness is still very low. So a lot of communities, for example, in the Philippines, still do not practice sustainable lifestyle or sustainable, for example, enterprises or livelihood. So there is a lot of work to be done in terms of awareness and education.
With the conclusion of the COP21 last year, do you see there's a more positive attitude or on global trends towards climate change?
Yes, definitely. So after COP21, I think hopes were very high and a lot of people, a lot of the governments were very much excited. So for me, after going home from COP21, I was just happy and I was hopeful that a lot of governments would take on climate action and will actually do their commitments to help mitigate carbon emissions and help other countries adapt to the impacts of climate change.
Local governments in Southeast Asia, are they also jumping in towards the COP21 bandwagon?
Yes, I think so. Like theoretically, we all signed the agreement, so that's a very good sign. However, practically, there's still a lot of ASEAN countries who are not keeping up to the commitments that they made. For example, Malaysia, in your country, you are still investing a lot in oil. Indonesia and the Philippines are investing a lot on coal. So these are, dirty energy, fossil fuels that contribute a lot to climate change. And while it doesn't already make sense to still continue investing in these dirty energy, our countries still do. So on that side, I don't think that we are doing everything that we can do to actually commit ourselves to climate action.
But do you know why this is happening in the first place? Why governments continue to invest in dirty energy?
Yes, so one of the reasons why is because we need, the usual reason is that as a developing country, for example, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, for us, investing in renewable energy like solar is very expensive compared to coal. So coal is still very cheap compared to investing in the technology of solar energy, for example. And the demand for energy is just too high, and governments think that investing in coal and fossil fuel is still the way to go to have like easy and cheaper energy. But that's actually a myth. That is not true. Coal and oil and other fossil fuels are actually more expensive compared to renewable energy if we factor in, for example, health and environmental impacts.
And when it comes to regional trend in Southeast Asia, do you see there's a shift with the younger generation towards putting more weight on sustainability?
Yes, actually, I think it's a very good sign. So I think a lot of people are involved in different organizations doing climate action, doing climate work, and I think a lot of it's becoming a trend now to live like a more sustainable lifestyle. More people are more environment friendly. So I know, for example, a lot of friends in the ASEAN region who are practicing a sustainable lifestyle in their everyday lives. So, for example, how to get rid of plastic in our everyday life, how to lessen our consumption, how to make sure that we eat organic food that comes from local farmers. So these are like simple steps and simple everyday changes that young people are doing to actually help in addressing climate change.
Personal habits are one thing, but what about when it comes to like economic activities? Do you see there's still like a high consumption of energy in economic activity, especially with governments now looking at Southeast Asia as the engine for the global economy?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, the reason why Southeast Asian governments keep on investing in fossil fuel and in this dirty energy is because they keep saying that our economy is growing, developing very fast, and we need a lot of energy to keep up with this growing economy. And it's always been this reason why we keep on investing still in fossil fuels. And I don't think it's the right way to go in terms of economic development, but this is an excuse which our governments keep telling us.
What are the status quo right now when it comes to energy consumption in the Southeast Asian countries?
I'm actually not sure about other Southeast Asian countries, but maybe I can tell about the Philippines. So the Philippines, we have like an energy mix currently of 70-30, so 70 from fossil fuel and 30 from renewable energy. However, because for example in the far provinces of the country, there's still very very little access to energy, and we need that to develop the countryside. We have more than 50 coal power plants approved to be built in the next 5 years. So we have a lot of energy needs to fuel our economy and to make sure that people have access to energy and to electricity. However, we are investing a lot on fossil fuel as a result.
But will that trend be reversed in the future? Because just recently there's a news about in the Philippines, the government wanting to invest in wind energy.
Yeah, actually we have also the biggest solar farm currently in Southeast Asia. It's in the province called Negros. However, the problem is in legislation. I mean, in the Philippines, the problem is legislation. We have a law that basically says the government cannot say no to any energy investments. That's why we have that's why we have 50 coal power plants in the pipeline, because technically our national government cannot say no to this. And so we can only change this if we change the legislation, and it will take a lot of political will to be able to change this law.
So it's a catch-22 at the end of the day.
Yes.
But what are the impacts if the governments, not just in the Philippines, but in Southeast Asia, still think that investing in fossil fuel is the way to go, at least for the next 10 to 20 years? What will happen to Southeast Asia?
Yeah, Southeast Asia is quite a vulnerable region to climate change. And although we emit very, very little compared to the developed countries, the Annex 1 countries as we call it, or compared to United States, United Kingdom, and other European countries, we cannot afford to continue investing in dirty energy. This also means that if we continue investing, we will make ourselves vulnerable, and we will be lagging behind the shift that's been happening globally. All over the world, different countries are already shifting to clean and renewable energy, and we cannot afford to be left behind. As we had a webinar last week with 350.org, and with Payal Parek, and she says that actually coal-fired power plants and using oil is like the dinosaur way of getting energy, and we can't afford to do that anymore. So we need to protect ourselves from being vulnerable to climate change, and we also have to protect our people. So remember that coal-fired power plants, oil, and natural gas, these have health impacts. We have to have healthy people in Southeast Asia to be able to fuel our economy.
This is the end of the first segment of our discussion with Ayeen from Climate Tracker. We will continue with the second segment.
You're now listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing.